All right, we'll go ahead and officially call the meeting to order. Is the meeting been properly posted and will be taken?
Yes.
Thank you. Item number 2 is approval of the minutes, 2.1 minutes of the February 7th, 2022 meeting. There's no additions or corrections, and entertain a motion to approve those minutes.
So moved.
Second. There's a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing and hearing none, all those in favor of the motion signify by stating aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Item number 3 is communications. I don't believe we have any communications this morning. So item number 4 is a public hearing to review and possible recommendation regarding Sarah Smith. 4.1 is a public hearing on a request to consider a conditional use petition to allow for an indoor sales or service land use for rental and sales at 1333 Racine Street, located in the manufacturing light ML zoning district with a wellhead protection overlay. Applicant Sarah Smith. At this time, I go ahead and open public hearing.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, this is 1333 Racine Street in the manufacturing light zoning district. You might remember a couple months ago, I think we had a dog place that was going to be in there, and apparently they're not going to be there anymore because we have Sarah here tonight. Sarah's in the audience, and she's looking at putting a resale shop, which in the ML requires that conditional use. So if you have any questions, I'll have Sarah come up and she can answer them for you.
Hi, Sarah. Did you want to elaborate anything?
No, that's really it. I'm just looking to put in a small resale shop in there, so.
Any questions from commission members? That's pretty easy, huh? I would ask if there's anyone else here that would like to speak on the matter then. Hearing none, I would then go ahead and close the public hearing. Item 4.2 is again to consider a conditional use permit at 1333 Racine Street, located in the manufacturing light ML zoning district with a wellhead protection overlay for an indoor sales or service land use. Applicant Sarah Smith. I go ahead and entertain a motion.
Make a motion as written.
Second. There's a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing and hearing none, all those in favor of the motion signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Welcome. Item number 5 is a public hearing to review and possible recommendation, Kyle Butcher, for the Parkside Apartment Homes LLC. This 5.1 is the public hearing on a request to consider a conditional use permit to allow for a 4-unit residential multiplex land use on each of the vacant lots at 434 and 506 Autumn Drive in the residential multifamily RM8 zoning district. Applicant Kyle for Parkside Apartments LLC. We'll go ahead and reopen the public hearing at this time. Chief?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, this was at 434 and 506 Autumn Drive. Kyle is here in the audience. He was here last month and we were missing a few key pieces of information, and staff has since received all that information, and everything looked pretty good. So I'll have Kyle come up so you can ask any questions that you might have.
Thank you, Kyle. Thanks again for joining us this month. Anything that you want to add?
I was able to bring some samples of the brick shingles and the sign that we will be using for the 4 units in the duplex.
Any questions for Kyle? Yes. Did you have a question? Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you did. Anyone else at this time wish to speak on the issue? Seeing and hearing none, I will go ahead and close the public hearing and on to item number 5.2, which is consider a conditional use petition to allow for a 4-unit residential multiplex land use on each of the vacant lots at 454 and 506 on Drive in the residential multifamily 8 RN zoning district. Applicant Kyle Buttram for Parkside Apartments LLC. Care to make a motion at this time?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve, subject to the following. One, the conditional use findings listed in the report, and the conditional use request for the multiplex land use to allow for a 4-unit principal building to be constructed on each of these single parcels. Applicant Kyle Buttram for Parkside Apartment Homes LLC, subject to the conditions of approval listed in the report.
Second.
The motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing and hearing none, all those in favor of the motion signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Both same sign, motion passes. Moving on to item number 6 is a public hearing to review a possible recommendation on behalf of the city of Delavan. 6.1, public hearing on the request to consider amendments to the zoning ordinance section 22.105, parent 2, parent B, 2, D3, section 23.206, parent 8, and table 2.3 or 23.203, tables of land uses and creation, section 23.206, parent A, parent W, to establish a new accessory dwelling unit land use category as a conditional use in the RS-2 zoning district. Again, applicant in the city of Delavan. It's again, I'll reopen the public hearing, continued from February 7th, 2022. Yeah, sure.
All right, so how's this sound?
Good.
So this is, as was mentioned, was continued from previous month. One item that we were asked to look into a couple of different things for this month to bring this back. One was whether the city has the ability to limit the property owner from renting out the accessory dwelling unit on the property, and we were the city attorney did confirm that no, the city cannot prevent folks from renting out the accessory dwelling unit. That was pretty much that's what we were operating under when we wrote the draft amendments. So in my opinion, the draft language is still appropriate for that type of use. I think what I'd like to do is just back up a little bit and provide a reminder to the Planning Commission about what the purpose of the amendments are and why the city may want to consider adopting the proposed amendments. So just as a reminder, an accessory dwelling unit is a separate single dwelling unit located on the same lot as a principal dwelling unit. So often that will occur in the form of a separate building on the same lot as a single family home. It could also be attached to the primary dwelling unit, or it could be part of an existing garage. In my opinion, this type of land use is beneficial in most communities, especially in lower density residential areas, because it provides different housing options that may be affordable to different types of households. It's a great way for seniors to age in place, so you could have your in-laws, for example, rent your accessory dwelling unit on your property, and that's a way for them to get the support that they need, but then also stay in the community. As we discussed at the last meeting, there are quite a bit of built-in requirements in these proposed amendments that really limit the potential negative impacts that could occur in association with an accessory dwelling unit. I think at the last Plan Commission, we talked about concerns about overcrowding, maybe concerns about not enough parking on site, concerns that the quality of the development might not be up to par with the rest of the neighborhood. And so as you can see in the proposed amendment language here, we've got, probably a dozen different built-in requirements that would address many of these concerns. And I'd be happy to kind of go through these if folks would like to do that. And then once again, in order to be eligible for an accessory dwelling unit, the proposed amendments would require that the property be rezoned to RS2 first, which the city has quite a bit of control over. So basically the city can deny a rezoning for any reason if they feel that an accessory dwelling unit or a rezoning would not be appropriate in this situation. And then on top of that, a conditional use permit would be required. So in this situation, there's really tight control over when accessory dwelling units can be approved. And then lastly, I'll just add that the draft amendments limit accessory dwelling units only to lots that are 2.5 acres or larger. So city staff was able actually to look up how many lots that apply to in the city, and it is very few. And so this is a really targeted amendment with lots of control by the city. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Great, thank you. Any questions from commissioners? I know there was a lot of discussion last month on this, and I appreciate that staff looked into this further and brought back some of that additional information for us to consider this month. Again, if there's any specific questions. Will, did you have any? I think you were muted before, so I don't know. I know you had the most kind of questions on this issue last month, but
Well, I don't believe that it's appropriate for someone to have bought a nice lot, a 2.5 acre lot, obviously, with a neighbor who also has a nice 2.5 acre lot. And they intended to have a nice place to live. One of the lots sells, and all of a sudden these little accessory buildings start popping up. In my opinion, changing the whole culture of what this person obviously spent a lot of thought, time, and resource and money in creating a nice place to live. I'm still opposed to it, and I guess that's what I have to say.
thanks, Will. I just wanted to give you an opportunity because I know you had asked additional questions, and I think some of that was to get, even though we thought legally it was within our realm, and getting that official confirmation, I think helps, at least for me individually. I'm not sure where everyone else stands on it. We'll find out here shortly. But one of the things that we didn't necessarily.
If I may, I was speaking as a public citizen as part of the public hearing.
Thank you, Will, and I appreciate you clarifying that too. I was just gonna say, one of the things that was brought up more so in just the little clarification that we got that wasn't necessarily talked about, I think, is that opportunity to allow people that maybe purchased a 2.5 nice lot, wanted to make a nice home out of it, allowing that opportunity that in these cases, one, which we did talk about last time, are very, very limited. But the option specifically that maybe as parents get elderly and they're getting a little older, they can still remain in that nice home, whereas maybe they wouldn't have that. But under this scenario, they could. And so for me individually, I think that's helpful and stuff. So I don't know if there's any other questions.
The property is still owned by the person that owned it, the several acre lot. They can't sell a portion of that lot to somebody to build a house on that property and then move away.
No, they could not do that.
Okay.
Great question.
So they wouldn't be able to, at a later date, after they made the changes to their primary residence, they wouldn't be able to come here and ask to divide the lot and then sell it.
We could ask, but we wouldn't need to approve it. We wouldn't be able, we wouldn't have to. approve
At
it.
that point, it would be beneath the 2.5 acre restriction.
Yeah, that's a good point too. Mhm.
Any other questions? Okay, good. Thanks again for the additional information. I think that was helpful. At this time, I don't know if there's anyone else here in the audience that wishes to speak on this issue. If not, I'll go ahead and close the public hearing at this time, and under 6.2 is actual consider the official amendments to the zoning ordinance, section 22.05. I'm not gonna read all that again, if everyone's okay with that, but I would entertain a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion to move this, as written. I will second it.
Okay, there's a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
I think this still falls within the guidelines of what we were trying to accomplish for the city planning for the. So this still makes sense to me.
Thank you. And if there's no further discussion, all those in favor of the motion signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Okay,
Okay. Motion passes. Item number 7 is a public hearing to review a possible recommendation against City of Delavan. A public hearing on a request to 7.1 is to consider amendments to the zoning ordinance section 22.707 exterior lighting standards to address the dark sky standard request from the former European Observatory. Again, applicant City of Delavan. At this time, go ahead and open the public hearing. Mark?
Mr. Mayor, as you're aware, the Yerkes, the former Yerkes employees came before the Plan Commission several months ago. Staff has gone through their information they provided and put together what we believe is some minor changes to our existing zoning code section regarding exterior lighting. That's in front of you as in the agenda packet. There's some added language in there regarding aiming of lights and the ability to not cause glare, I guess is the defining factor.
Yes.
The question I have is this something that's retroactive or grandfathered?
What we set this up for is any new or replacement or upgraded light fixtures.
Okay, so nobody's gonna have to go out there and spend a tremendous amount of money.
Unless they're planning to retrofit, then
Okay.
yes, they would need to bring it up to current standard, the new standard, I guess you should say.
Okay, good.
Good question. Any other questions?
Mark, can you give us an example of what somebody might have done or be doing that would be a problem?
The biggest issue is usually a floodlight. It's lighting that's, if you can stand in your backyard and do some finger puppets on the back of your house because your neighbor has a big bright light shining out the back of theirs, it's not aimed properly, I guess is.
Okay.
Any other questions? Mark? Anyone else here in attendance wish to speak on this issue?
Is this gonna, I have one other question, sorry, all of a sudden popped in my head. Is this going to minimize the amount of lighting that we currently have, like on our street lights or anything else like that?
No.
Okay.
Well, one, the zoning code applies on private property, doesn't apply on public, so that's a kind of a weird aspect of the zoning part of it. We do design our city streetlights and we work with Alliant for their streetlights, so though they are downcast type lighting, all of our new ones are. And then we did set this up so that it only applies to fixtures that are in excess of 6,000 lumens. So if you convert that to incandescent, it's somewhere between 300 and 400 watts of incandescent lights. So it's big outdoor lighting.
Okay.
This will apply to.
Thank you.
Chris? Anyone else in attendance here that wishes to speak on this issue today?
Mr. Mayor, just one more question. Does that affect the lighting like at high school football games, things like that?
If you look down, I believe the special events lighting under G already applies for that.
Okay.
I would then close the public hearing at this time and move on to item number 7.2, which is.
I do have one question, I'm sorry, I just read that, and it says it's got to secure a temporary use permit. Is that just gonna be a one-time thing for the high school, or are they gonna have to come like every time they need it?
I'm gonna say that they have one and it applies.
Okay, I just want to make sure.
I don't believe we've ever issued them one, but
Thanks.
Good
we won't shut down Friday night football.
Thank you.
Good questions. We'll move on to item 7.2 then is, again, consider amendments to the zoning ordinance, section 23.707, exterior lighting standards to address the dark sky standard request from Geneva Lakes Astrophysics and Scheme, formerly known as Bierke's Observatory, applicant City of Delavan. At this time, I'd entertain a motion.
I'll move it as written.
All right.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing and hearing none, all those in favor of the motion signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Item number 8 is public hearing to review and possible recommendation against the City of Delavan. 8.1 is a public hearing on a request to consider federally required updates to the floodplain regulation standards within section 23.503 of our zoning code to maintain compliance with the National Flood Insurance Program, including Wisconsin Act 175, language that would allow for the owners of structures that are currently in the floodplain to make modifications to the flood-proof their buildings without expense. This time I go ahead and open the public hearing. Mark.
As the commission may recall, we brought this up last month with the commission as to whether we wanted to include the Act 175 language within this draft. The city clerk has done a marvelous job putting this all together with all the information that the DNR provided us with the base model, which is the minimum requirements to maintain our FEMA certification for floodplain zoning, but it affects the floodplain insurance aspect. What's in front of you is what the DNR has reviewed that we put together, and the DNR has okayed, I guess is the nicest way to put it. This version, it does meet the minimum standards, and again, it would keep us in compliance with the FEMA insurance requirements.
Thanks, Mark. Any questions for Mark? Is there anyone else here in attendance that wishes to speak on this issue at this time? Seeing and hearing none, I will close the public hearing at this time and move on to item number 8.2, which is consider the federally required updates to the floodplain regulation standards within section 23.503 of our zoning code to maintain compliance with the National Flood Insurance Program, including Wisconsin Act 175 language that would allow for the owners of structures that are currently within the floodplain to make modifications to flood-proof their buildings without expense limitations. Applicant City of Delavan. At this time, I'd entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor.
Yeah. There's a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing and hearing none, all those in favor of the motion signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Item number 9 under business 9.1 is to consider a 3-lot land re-division request by certified survey map CSM for the 3 vacant parcels along the west side of 400 lot of
I was here in the audience, make questions. This is basically a lot line adjustment between the 3 existing lots in order to make what you just recommended earlier with their 2 4-unit buildings and a duplex to fit their setbacks. So it's 3 lots when you start, and it'll be 3 lots when they get done.
Any questions? If not, I would entertain a motion.
Make a motion.
Second. There's a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing and hearing none, all those in favor of the motion signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Item 9.2 is consider a 47 lot land division request of a final plan for phase 1 of the Harbor Club Lake Lawn within lot 2 and lot 4 of approved certified survey map at 2400 East General Street.
Okay. Just hoping you're gonna cover it. What you have in front of you is a proposed final plat that is in substantial compliance with the preliminary plat that the Plan Commission and Council approved a year ago. It's they've set it up as a first phase of that preliminary plat with the buildings, I guess, which say to the center and to the east side of the preliminary plat. The owners' representatives are here. Future owners' representatives that are here if you have any specific questions. This will, along with this, going to council, will end up being the final engineering plans, developers agreement, and other items that go with a subdivision plan.
Any questions regarding this issue?
When do you anticipate breaking ground?
We'd like to, the plan right now is to start the dirt work in June, mass earthwork and utility work, water and sewer, July, and then our model home sometimes late fall.
Any other questions?
Do you have any units sold yet?
No, we've had such a challenge getting to the point we're at right now. We just haven't taken the step of pre-sales. We want to get this done, make sure we have everything in line. As volatile as the pricing has been on homes. It's a risk now to sell a home for a guaranteed price, and it's even a bigger risk to sell it, and hopefully you're going to be able to sell it in 3 months. And we just really need to get this done so we can look people in the eye and tell them we have these lots available, and this is what we're actually going to be able to sell.
And there will be a traffic signal going in as part of this, is going in at the intersection with F and Highway 50.
How many phases is this going to be?
Well, the development agreement allowed us up to 4, and really for this reason, we have done all that we could in phase 1. We would have had all of the subdivision in one phase, quite honestly, but we're still arm wrestling, and I know the city's working hard with the Delavan Lake Sanitary District to get the land swap sorted out on their lift station. Once that's done, there's a piece of land that they own in the middle of this property to the west side. There's also a lift station they've built that isn't on their property. So their lift station is not on their property. So we're trying to give them a piece of property for their lift station in return for the piece of property that's theirs but not built on. So that once that swap gets sorted out, we'll be able to bring the final phase in.
You don't want to charge them rent for the lift station?
I'd just rather get my stuff done.
Like you said, it's taken a while to get to this point. It's gonna be nice. Great. There's no other.
What's your time frame for completion?
In the last year's environment, it would have been pretty fast. You know, we sold in another community 81 homes in 1 year. I don't expect that year. I'd expect it the pace to be more of maybe 2 homes a month. So 24 months, I'd say 36 to 48 months to get the entire place sold and completed would be realistic. I hope. I pray.
It looks like Will's got a question.
Oh, Will, did you have a question?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. The question, I suppose, is for Mark. I noted that the city attorney had taken issue with 2, possibly 3 issues. Have they been resolved to our satisfaction?
Yes, they have.
Thank you.
Thanks, Will. Thank you, Chris. Let's see what I want to ask. Any other questions or comments? None, I would entertain a motion.
Make a motion as written.
I'll second that.
There's a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing and hearing none, all those in favor of the motion signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion passes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Item number 10 is an update on building and zoning related matters. Steve?
Yeah, I don't know if you guys have any specific questions for me. I can tell you, we issued our first single family home permit today. And I also heard from a couple of the builders that in Glen Oak subdivision behind the high school, that the guy that's owned that property for the last 20 years or so is selling to some of the builders. So I know that US Shelter, I think, got 4 or 5 lots, so they're planning on building there. And then with Ryan Pollard's development and Arbor Ridge development, I think we're gonna have a lot of permits towards the end of the year. People are looking for land right now, and we're kind of out of it. So it's kind of exciting that we're gonna have those projects. And then the other thing to note is Strategic Materials has been keeping in contact with the fire department, and myself, I've been copied on the emails, and they've been doing a pretty good job of doing a bunch of cleanup and stuff like that after the couple of fires.
Specific questions for Keith?
Are they back in operation?
Yeah, they were only closed for like Friday through Monday, and they did everything that we asked them to do, so.
Chinese restaurant by Big Wiggly, is it
Yep.
still a go?
So they're, the last I talked with them, they were trying to get state approved plans for their hood system,
Okay.
and they were kind of stuck at that point. So I don't know, I haven't talked to them in a while, so I'm not 100% sure where they're at with that, other than I know that was their holdup.
Perkins?
It's there.
Yeah. We've had quite a bit of interest, a couple different things, but then nothing's really come of it, I guess would be the best thing to. People are definitely looking at it. And sometimes they come in and they want, they're hot and heavy to do things right away, and then all of a sudden they just kind of fizzle out, but hopefully we'll get something in there soon.
So that's relying on people to just notice that there's something available, right? Is there a way for us to proactively mention it to, say, businesses that we would like to see in Delavan?
I mean, I know if people come to like my department or Mark or whatever, we do mention that, and I'm sure that Brian probably gets some people maybe sometimes that ask what's out there. But as for like marketing their property for them, it's probably not anything that we do, but we definitely, if people or developer calls and talks to us, they would probably be one of the ones on our list that we would, definitely mention, so. And I do believe they have it, I don't really see signs out there all that much, but
It's on LoopNet.
yeah, they do have it advertised, so.
Okay.
Is the furniture store moving soon?
So the furniture store, no, I haven't given them occupancy or anything like that. I know that they are working on some things, but they, I don't know exactly what their move-in date is, so I think it's still gonna be a little bit.
How's Box and Grill?
So last time I talked to Jonathan, I know he was trying to make it so that I think at the end of April, beginning of May, because I believe that that's his busy wedding season after that, and he's doing a lot of the work there. So hopefully another month or so. So he's getting closer though. It looks pretty cool in there. If you're walking down there, knock on the door and say hi.
Thanks, Keith.
Yeah.
All right, if there's no further business, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Is there a second? Second. Motion second, all in favor of adjournment?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. We're adjourned. Thanks, everyone.